Well, good morning. Thank you so much for joining us. And of course, welcome back from the weekend. And in the same vein, welcome to Good Morning Uganda. My name is Olive Monica Najuma, and I am thankful to be here with you this morning because it's a fresh week, a fresh start. We get to now check some boxes that we weren't able to check last week. And speaking of last week, many events made the news, and among those is the former presidential contender, that is Kizza Besigye, announcing to his supporters in Rukunjiri that he's back from the political break that he had taken over the last few years. Now, if you remember, in the last elections that we had, Kizza Besigye didn't contend for the presidency, so we don't know. Does his saying that he's back from the political break mean that he will be standing come 2026? We will know for sure as time goes on, and of course we will bring you details to that story. But also last week, Uganda was given or donated to 1.1 million doses. I beg your pardon. Uganda received malaria drugs from China worth $1.1 million. And the Minister of Health, Jen Ruth Acheng, said that the country is actually going to be helped with these the drugs that were given because we are still grappling with malaria as a country. Well, my name is Olive Monica Najima. I'm not alone. I'm with Chiraba Robert Nyonyintono, and later on, Chantal Oliver Kandinda and Joram Paul Sonko will be joining us from Studio B. Good morning,
Lovely
Mr.
morning
Chirabo.
to you, Najuma. Did you run?
Why?
The
Oh,
Kabaka,
yesterday, the marathon.
yes.
No, I didn't.
Oh, it was all joy at Lubidi, where we had over 1,000 people gather for the 69th Kabaka birthday run. And I want to tell you, people really turned up in huge numbers. But also there was HIV testing, sickle cells as well. And I saw many Ugandans wanting to know their status. But many were also very hesitant. One cracked a joke that unless you bring a grader, I can never step there to be tested. But away from that, also some good news. Over a time, we've had so many stories hitting the institution of marriage. But we had our former Prime Minister, Honorable Mama Mbabazi, and the wife, Jacqueline Mbabazi, celebrate 50 years of marriage. 50 years of being together. Marriage is not for the weak. I want to congratulate them.
Indeed, marriage is not for the weak. But for the people that have been there for quite some time, I hope that they're mentoring people that are joining the institution or are new in the constitution, because what we hear today about marriage is not really encouraging. So we congratulate the former Prime Minister upon this feat. Now, going to Studio 2, good morning, Joram Paul.
Good morning to you, and good morning to our dear viewer. It is Monday and we are here once again. What a week we have ahead of us, and thankfully we've been able to move further and come to this particular week. Well, over the weekend you get to realize that lots of events have been happening. Our neighbors in Rwanda yesterday kicked off a one-week commemoration or remembering the 30 years since the genocide. And of course, when you look at what President Paul Kagame, or PK, revealed, that Uganda is one of those countries that stood with Rwanda during this time of the genocide. And you get to realize that during this time of massacre, bloodshed, no country would wish to experience such times. And in this particular week, all the events of remembering that genocide are all going to be taking place in Rwanda. And we stand with all the people of Rwanda, or the mighty people of Rwanda, in remembering those that lost their lives during the genocide. And looking into what the president was actually mentioning, and the president in question is Paul Kagame, is that renew, remember, and reunite. So you get to realize that it is all about making sure that those memories do not come back haunting the people of Rwanda. But that aside, A great week. Over the weekend, I was talking to Chantal here, reminding her that I'm going to become a Haji on Wednesday, hopefully, or Tuesday. But Eid week is also here, and here we are.
Jerome Paul, you do not become a Hajj by simply getting a Hajj.
I'll become a
You
Haji
have to
by
go to
default.
Mecca first.
And him talking about being a Hajj on Wednesday,
Association.
he's talking about eating from different sources.
So he will become Hajj by association.
Exactly.
Eating from different sources.
Wow, interesting. Good morning, Chantal.
Good morning, Olive. How are you today?
I'm great. How are you?
I am very fine. Now, to the Rwandese and the Rwandans in the country and out of the country, this is usually a very tough time because a lot of memories come flooding. But then again, it's been 30 years now, and when you cross over and go to Rwanda, there are certain things you can't mention. Any ethnic divisions you dare not mention, and that is because that's where the problem came from. I'm hoping that that could also happen in some areas or in some countries that seem to be having the conversations, and people, because reports don't come out, some people actually are hit by tribalistic, tendencies here and there. But away from that, this very day in the United States of America, there is going to be a solar eclipse. On this very day, yes. I was trying to find out why not in Africa, and it turns out even the next, which is going to be, I think, in 2027, most likely to not reach certain parts of Africa. Even the one for 2028, even the one for 2030, most likely will not reach certain parts of Africa. But today, the people in the United States are geared up to make sure that they are, are prepared for what is going to be happening today. And I guess for us, we shall be catching it on live television.
Well,
But
when you say solar eclipse, what exactly do you mean?
Social media.
pardon?
When you say solar eclipse, for the layman, what does that exactly mean?
Well, a solar eclipse occurs when the moon passes between Earth and the sun, thereby obscuring the image of the sun for a viewer on Earth. So that means it's going to be a total solar eclipse. That means there's going to be total darkness at a particular point.
All right. For
Yes.
a few minutes, or does it take an hour?
It depends, and according to the information we have at the moment, we do not know exactly how long this one is going to take, but it usually does not take too long for all that we have seen before, yes.
But then in 2013, you do realize that there was a total solar eclipse
Yes.
viewed from Pakwach in
Yes,
Uganda.
yes, in
Yes,
Uganda.
yes.
That is like 11 years back. So I think we've experienced it also as Ugandans. Maybe it will come back soon or later. But well, we shall be getting the updates more and more on social media this time round from the United States.
Well, we move on now to the news in our local news stories. But of course, Chantal Olive will take us through the international news, and later on, Jerome Paul will take us through the local dailies.
And we'll begin with the Kabaka's birthday run that was yesterday, where runners stand up to participate in the 6th birthday run. This year's run, the Kabaka Ronald Muwenda Mutebi II designated Nalinya Agnes Nabalongo to flag off the runners. The 2024 Kabaka birthday run was on the theme Men Against HIV to Save the Girl Child. The Kabaka directed people to continue preventing the spread of HIV/AIDS to achieve the target of kicking out HIV/AIDS in Uganda by 2030. Over 800 people were tested for HIV/AIDS, syphilis, and sickle cells by the AIDS Information Center after thousands of people flocked the Rubiri Mengo to participate in the run. Various organizations, schools, and individuals supported the race. There was a call on Ugandans to get tested for HIV/AIDS.
Now moving on, a man identified as Paul Waiswa has accused the secretary to the president's office and the minister for presidency for obstructing him from the post of deputy RDC for Luka, to which he was appointed by President Yoweri Kaguta Museveni. However, the secretary in the office of the president, Haji Yunus Kakande, clarified about the matter, saying there were two people with the same names until they analyzed and chose the authentic one. By the powers and virtues conferred on him by the Constitution, the President is obliged to elect representatives commonly referred to as RDCs and their deputies in the various places and districts. So it was in 2022 when he released the list of appointed RDCs and deputies, and Paul Waiswa's name was shortlisted to the post of deputy RDC in Luka. After receiving the news, one Paul Waiswa in the video that we're showing you right now ran fast to the presidential office to confirm his appointment and was given letters of confirmation. However, he accuses some people from the presidential office of blocking him from the position he was appointed by the president, replacing him with their own. However, in response, the secretary in the office of the president, Haji Yunus Kakande, has shed clarity about the matter that saw them discover the rightful chosen by the president, even though they share the same names. Although Paul Waiswa threatened to go to court, Haji Yunus Kakande is not moved as they thoroughly investigated. The fight over the position comes at a time when Paul Waiswa Bweniwamiko, who was confirmed as the deputy RDC of Luka, is on suspension for misconduct.
And moving on, a National Children Authority has trained local leaders in Jinja City on implementing child well-being and protection aimed at implementation of child protection policy and programs. The training aims at eliminating violence against children, child neglect and labor. National Children Authority Executive Director Martin Kiza said the training breaks down the National Children Policy of 2020 to local leaders.
Now moving on, the 3rd Division Commander, Major General Don Williams Nabasa, has called upon Kabong and Kotido districts communities to form a strong alliance to fight the insecurity caused by armed Turkana warriors from Kenya. Nabasa was meeting security leaders from UPDF and police, local leaders, reformed warriors at Morituti sub-county in Kabong district, while others from the 2 districts. Well, that does it for the local news. Now we delve into international news with Chantal.
Well, hopefully this is good news for the Israel-Gaza war. Now, Israel's military said yesterday that it was reducing its numbers of soldiers from southern Gaza, leaving just 1 brigade in the area. The military stressed a significant force would remain in Gaza. This is another stage in the war effort. Israeli Defense Forces spokesperson Lieutenant Colonel Peter Lana told news agencies. The pullout is being interpreted as tactical rather than a sign the war may be moving closer to its end. Also on Sunday, Israel and Hamas said they had both sent delegations to Cairo to join fresh ceasefire negotiations. It is 6 months to the day since Hamas attacked southern Israel border communities on 7th October, killing 1,200 people and taking more than 250 hostages. Israel says that of the 130 hostages still in Gaza, at least 34 are dead. Away from that, a war monitor has said at least 17 people were killed in southern Syria's Dira province in violence triggered by an explosion a day earlier that killed a group of children. Dira was the cradle of the 2011 uprising against President Bashar al-Assad's rule, but it turned to government control in 2018 under a ceasefire deal backed by Russia. The province has since been plagued by violence with frequent clashes and precarious living conditions. The Britain-based Syrian Observatory for Human Rights said on Sunday that an armed group led by a figure who previously worked for a Syrian state security agency had been accused by a rival group of planting an explosive device that went off on Saturday in the city of Al-Sanayamain, killing 8 children. And lastly, more than 90 people have died after a ferry sank off the north coast of Mozambique, local authorities say. Officials in Nampula province said 5 people had been rescued from around 130 believed to have been on board. They were fleeing a cholera outbreak. Nampula Secretary of State Jemmy Neto, many children were among the dead, he added. Because the boat was overcrowded and unsuited to carry passengers, it ended up sinking, Mr. Neto said. Unverified videos posted on social media purported to show dozens of bodies lying on a beach. The boat was apparently traveling from Lunga to Mozambique Island off the coast of Nampula. Nampula province has been one of the worst attacked by the cholera outbreak, which has spread over the several countries in southern Africa since January last year. And that's it for international news.
Thank you, Chantal. Now, Jerome Paul Sonko, I wonder what you have for us today in the local dailies.
Well, the New Vision is highlighting pretty many things this morning, one of which is that the Trade Permanent Secretary has been dragged to police over slapping a lawyer. An interesting report there, as Sally accuses senior legal office of insubordination and interdicts her, according to what the New Vision is highlighting. As massive turnout at the Kabaka birthday run yesterday, there's a pictorial of all those who attended the birthday run. Now, the Mbabazis celebrate 50 years in marriage. Pictorial of the Mbabazis as well as the Musevenis at the front page of the New Vision today. Then read about education. Kampala school owner sued over transferring P7 candidate. Which school owner is that? Find more about it in the New Vision. Then the Daily Monitor is highlighting city traders to close shops over tax roll. Big report. Why are they? Which traders? All of those details are with the Daily Monitor. Now, in healthy living, is vasectomy right for you? Find out more of that for the men who are seeking vasectomy. Now, Stanbic asked to submit fresh names for the CEO job. Read about that still in the Daily Monitor. Then, able to sport yourself. Mengo raises over 2.4 billion Ugandan shillings for HIV fight. A pictorial of those who took part in the Kabaka birthday run yesterday. Now, in the other news, we don't intend to appeal anti-gay ruling, according to the government. Then regional news, issues that await Nandala as he begins new term at BCU. Then in matters business, Shumuk vs Baroda, property row threatening 30-year relationship. That is with the Daily Monitor. Now we cross to Kenya. The Daily Nation is highlighting Uhuru's political traitors. Mr. Kenyatta had a falling out with President Ruto, his then deputy, in the run-up to the 2022 polls. Read more about it in the Daily Nation. We can't afford to pay you, Ruto tells Kenyan doctors. Then neglect by state leaves education sector in private hands, because according to details, it shows that 70% of children in Nairobi attend private institutions. Then also anniversary Rwanda genocide. Reporter recalls covering the horror. Chris Erasmus, the Nationalist correspondent in Cape Town, South Africa, recalls his assignment 30 years ago in Rwanda. Now, matters Premier League. Advantage Arsenal as Man United hold Liverpool to a 2-2 draw at Old Trafford. Then we head to Tanzania, the Citizen newspaper. Tour operators protest service levy burden as tenants agony as landlords change rent conditions in Tanzania. Then also Zanzibar court strikes down law limiting liquor importers as nation marks 52nd anniversary of Karume's death. That and more is with the Citizen. Now, lastly, from our press review this morning, we look at the East African newspaper. A rebuilt Rwanda 3 decades later, as it marks its 30th anniversary of the 1994 genocide against the Tutsi. It's remarkable just how much Rwanda has not only survived but thrives, and it's reaching even more heights. More of that is with the East African cover of this week. Then why outsiders won't let Sudan test prosperity. Read about it in the East African. Then leaders call summit over next East African community boss. And in the money perspective, new standards and more investment. Kenyan banks as well as billion-dollar plans for losses on loans. Then in markets, a competitive case for hard currency. Stock market chiefs mild shift on debt instruments. As in the other news, the DRC is about to turn on death penalty. State argues it will help deal with rebels and deserters. So that is it from our press review this Monday.
Thank you so much, Jerome Paul. Now we will take a short break and we'll leave you, as we do, with an inspiration song from Pato Ranking, Another Level. We'll be right back.
Live from UPC Studios in Kampala, this is Good Morning Uganda.
Change up me level. That's why me I mash up the devil. Remember the days me a struggle. No girl want kids and cuddle. Me money they another level. Go tell them me better than devil. Girl make you flex up your muscle. Wine to the bass and the treble.
And later on, Chantal Oliver Kandinda and Jerome Paul Sonko will be joining us from Studio B. Good morning.
Lovely
Mr.
morning
Jerome.
to you, Najuma. Did you run?
Why?
The
Oh, yesterday, the marathon.
Yes.
No, I didn't.
Oh, it was all joy at Lubidi, where we had over 1,000 people gather for the 69th Kabaka birthday run. And I want to tell you, people really turned up in huge numbers. But also there was HIV testing, sickle cells as well. And I saw many Ugandans wanting to know their status. But many were also very hesitant. One cracked a joke that unless you bring a grader, I can never step there to be tested. But away from that, also some good news. Over a time, we've had so many stories hitting the institution of marriage. But we had our former Prime Minister, Honorable Mama Mbabazi, and the wife, Jacqueline Mbabazi, celebrate 50 years of marriage. 50 years of being together. Marriage is not for the weak. I want to congratulate them.
Indeed, marriage is not for the weak, but for the people that have been there for quite some time, I hope that they're mentoring people that are joining the institution or are new. Really encouraging. So we congratulate the former Prime Minister upon this feat. Now going to Studio 2. Good morning, Jerome Paul.
Good morning to you and good morning to our dear viewer. It is Monday and we are here once again. What a week we have ahead of us. And thankfully, we've been able to move further and come to this particular week. Well, over the weekend, you get to realize that lots of events have been happening. Our neighbors in Rwanda yesterday kicked off a one-week commemoration or remembering the 30 years since the genocide. And of course, when you look at what President Paul Kagame, or PK, revealed, that Uganda is one of those countries that stood with Rwanda during this time of the genocide. And you get to realize that during this time of massacre, bloodshed, no country would wish to experience such times. And in this particular week, all the events of remembering that genocide are all going to be taking place in Rwanda. And we stand with all the people of Rwanda, or the mighty people of Rwanda, in remembering those that lost their lives during the genocide. And looking into what the president was actually mentioning, and the president in question is Paul Kagame, is that renew, remember, and reunite. So you get to realize that it is all about making sure that those memories do not come back haunting the people of Rwanda. But that aside, a great week. Over the weekend, I was talking to Chantal here, reminding her that I'm going to become a Haji on Wednesday, hopefully, or Tuesday. But Eid week is also here, and here we are.
Jerome Paul, you do not become a Hajj by simply getting a Hajj.
Free.
Check the shopping man. What's your secret? Haven't you heard of the parish development model PDM? Yes, I did, but I thought it was just a talk. No, Sebatia. It is real. I and a few friends together formed a circle, accessed money from the PDM, invested in a poultry project, and now things are moving. Joko, I thought I was one of your friends. You are. But you left me behind. I didn't leave you in poverty. But what you do, just visit your LC2 chairperson and your parish chief, and start the process of economic transformation. Just like that. The parish development model is an initiative from the government of Uganda through the Ministry of Local Government, designed to transform all lives of Ugandans for the better. PDM, my parish, my development, my life.
Live from UBC Studios in Kampala, this is Good Morning Uganda.
Time check is 6 minutes past 7 o'clock. Good morning. My name is Olive Monica Najuma, and I'll be joined by Chantal Oliver Kandinda and Jerome Paul Sonko in Studio 2. Now, today, Uganda is in between a rock and a hard place. Why? There is a campaign ongoing, that is the yellow fever vaccination campaign. But also now experts are noting that there is hesitancy when it comes to vaccine uptake among Ugandans. Now, experts are blaming this partly on mistrust, and others are blaming it on elites or elitism. So because of many people being on social media, you're going to find many people like the former presidential candidate, Joseph Kabuleta, urging people not to take vaccines. If you've checked his Twitter handle, you will see that he's been against vaccination since COVID-19, and now he has focused his guns onto the yellow fever vaccination campaign. Now, experts are saying that this is bringing a problem in the sense that parents are now resisting vaccinating their children against vaccination preventable diseases. Yes, so you know, when we're growing up, we have, and even when you have children, we used to have the 6 killer diseases. Now there are more, and all these diseases are vaccinatable. For instance, pneumococcal, for instance, measles, polio, among others. But now we are experiencing an uptake that is, we are experiencing a change where parents are now against taking their children for vaccination. I'll give you a case in point. Right before COVID-19, there was a mass measles campaign vaccination in the entire country. And some parents did not take their children for this vaccination campaign, citing that the vaccination they had done at 9 months for their children was enough. So why is this? Why the mistrust? Why are people not trusting the vaccines that we have been uptaking for so many years and where we've had positive results? I'll give you a case in point again, polio. There is a time in the 1990s when many children were born with polio, but because of vaccination, at birth especially, and then the months after, now it's even almost impossible to find a child under the age of 5 with polio. But why is this new change? Why are people against vaccination? That's the conversation we are having this morning. Now, going to Studio B, where my colleagues are waiting, I'll go to Chantal. And you've been seeing the discourse on social media and even in some mainstream media where some leaders in our society, policy makers and opinion leaders, are now telling people not to uptake vaccines. Actually, the people that are telling people not to take the vaccines are educated people. It's not that they don't know what they're talking about. Where are they coming from? And why is it that the general public is not as excited about vaccines as it used to be the case in the past?
Speaking like a layman, when you look at where all this originates from, the mass vaccinations especially have earned a lot of mistrust from the time of COVID-19, and I would really relate it to conspiracy theories and also misinformation, and I would also majorly link it to lack of sensitization. Now, much as the people who are coming out to to go against these mass vaccinations, much as they're educated, I doubt they're educated in every single field that you can be educated in, right? So that means there could be a point where this person also needs to be educated. And before the rollout of the yellow vaccine, for example, vaccination campaign, for example, how much information was put out there to enable Ugandans make the decision to take their children or to actually go for vaccination? And please do note that COVID-19 showed us that, and there was a lot of information about COVID-19 vaccination that also made people have their doubts and mistrust about it. So having had such a precedent, why wouldn't we have information given to individuals before we roll out to have this vaccination program? And I think that is where we seem to be having a challenge. I might be speaking from an angle of, yes, I went to school, I sense some bit of things that are not adding up, but I could be wrong, but then I have a right to have my opinion. And most of these people are speaking from their own opinion. I've not seen anyone come out with substantial information they can give to the public that should stop the public from going to get vaccinated. What does that mean? That means that now the government has to come out and be the one that gives substantial information to Ugandans in general to go and be part of these vaccination programs. At the end of the day, they are for the good of the Ugandans. The unfortunate bit is social media has done enough or more than enough to disseminate all good and bad information about everything good and bad as well.
Well, according to the World Health Organization, yellow fever is a disease which is contagious and is endemic to Uganda. What that means is that we are among the around 26 countries around the world where this disease actually exists. And according to the World Health Organization, there is no cure for yellow fever. So the reason there is a vaccination campaign is so that one's body, the person that has been vaccinated, can now be able to fight against the disease just in case they get it. But now parents are against the vaccination. But this is not the only vaccination that people are against. During the COVID-19 pandemic, we were told to get vaccinated. But also, the vaccines for COVID-19 were made in basically a blink of an eye. This made people become a bit mistrustful of the process. And now this opened a wider conversation regarding vaccination. Now, Jerome Paul Sonko, I don't know if you've seen a video where one of the richest men in the world, Bill Gates, was giving a speech, and he said, the population of the world is increasing at a high speed, and we need to have vaccines to manage population. Now, some people misunderstood this as trying to eliminate some people. Have you seen this video before?
Yes, I have. That was during COVID-19 when the conspiracy theories were actually on a rise. During such a time, most of the elites in the world were more concerned about these vaccines that were being enrolled out, because some of the companies that were making the vaccines at the time were all after the money. And of course, it was a time where everyone was desperate, to heal or to try to curb the spread of COVID-19. Now, also putting it into the COVID-19 situation and bringing it into what we are having today, Just last week, Emmanuel Damba, the Wakiso District Senior Environmental Health Officer, revealed that they had a problem with most of the private institutions or teaching institutions in Wakiso. Why was that so? Many of the school proprietors were suggesting that the only way they would allow government to continue with the mass vaccination against yellow fever in these schools is after the parents had consented to the same. And then some of the reasons as to why the proprietors were revealing this, or why they actually said that parents had to first consent, was that some of the parents, because of the effects some of the COVID vaccines had on some of either the parents themselves or some of the children, that is after the COVID-19, because there were some reports that came out. Many of the parents became a little bit scared about these mass vaccinations. Of course, those are to a few case scenarios. And in such circumstances, when you also mention the issue to do with Bill Gates, it takes us back to what Joseph Kabuleta did tweet, or if you're to put to break down a little bit more and try to understand what the former presidential candidate, that is Joseph Kabuleta, was trying to put out with his post in relation to mass vaccination. And you do realize that he is not the only elite or any other kind of Ugandan in such a caliber who is trying to downplay the importance of these vaccines. We've seen so many other people in Uganda who do not have enough evidence, by the way, but because of the conspiracy theories that are out there here and there, especially when it comes to mass vaccination, some people actually saying, why would we be having mass vaccination out of the blue or all of a sudden? All of these. And then others are also having it in their mind that either the countries that are coming in, that are sending us these vaccines, are intending to, to try to curb the population growth in African countries. But then you also have to put it in this way.
But the question is vaccination only happening in African countries, or
Not
there
really.
are other countries outside of Africa are also vaccinating their population
No, even
against
countries...
different diseases?
No, even countries outside Africa are having vaccines, because we have vaccinatable diseases and we also have treatable diseases.
Yes.
And these vaccines are not entirely put for Africans. They are entirely put for everybody, because all of us can easily get, sick. And if at all there are preventive measures, you get to realize that even the developed countries or the first-class countries that we look up to are always working tooth and nail against such diseases. So Ugandans need to have it in their minds that these are vaccines that are not only put in place to or to actually curb the population growth, because nonetheless we have so many vaccines on the market, right from childhood, even when a newborn baby is is brought to this world. There are various vaccines they keep on receiving during their tender stages.
And two questions to both of you. Some people are saying it is a bit hypocritical that parents comfortably take their children for vaccination when they have just had the babies. There is vaccination that takes place at birth, that is polio vaccination, and you get also a tetanus shot. And then after 6 weeks, you take the child back for vaccination on and on until they are around 1 year old. At 9 months, they take the measles shot, and many others come in between. So some people say that it is hypocritical for parents to take these vaccines when the children are way younger without any questions, but when it comes to national campaigns, the same parents are now saying that no, we cannot do this, we do not trust the vaccines. Why are they being given to us for free? Yet it is said that majority of the vaccines in Uganda are actually given for free. Now the first question is, the people who are saying that this is hypocritical, are they right on the money, or there is something to be discussed in terms of discourse? But the second question is, still these parents who are saying we cannot vaccinate our children, we don't trust mass vaccination, aren't they the same parents who will without a doubt vaccinate their children if there is travel in the works? Because we know that to travel out of Uganda to other countries, it is mandatory for one to have been vaccinated.
Do you realize that the common factor here is mass campaigns or mass vaccination campaigns?
So what's the difference?
The difference here is that for where we've seen the mass campaigns, we have seen conspiracy theories. We've also seen a question on the motive, backed by what we have seen over time. Now, if we were to trace back, the reason I would think, the reason as to why people did not mistrust the vaccination of at birth you're vaccinated, after a particular period you're vaccinated, it's because, one, there was a long stretch of study that was being done and a lot of research put into this work. Now, the question here is, one, for example, for the COVID-19 vaccine, it was just a few months and we already apparently had a vaccine. That is put aside now. For yellow fever, there was no mass campaign that could make someone feel like, why are they doing a mass campaign? Usually if it's travel, you know you have to, because they're telling you in certain countries you cannot cross over, you have to be vaccinated because the people are vaccinated. Now that is why we're getting the vaccine for those who are traveling. In this case, we are now centering the conversation on what we've had the very manufacturers of these vaccines say on live television.
What are the manufacturers saying?
In interviews, pardon?
What are the manufacturers saying about the vaccines?
A few minutes ago, you talked about what Bill Gates was saying on live coverage. Yes, on live coverage on one of the videos. How do you expect, if that video is circulated, how do you expect someone who is well aware that Bill Gates is behind the vaccine being administered at the moment, how do you expect this person to trust the motive of his company or of the individual and expect them to take their child for vaccination? And please note, it's not Bill Gates alone. We've seen a number of whites on live television. Just that these videos came out probably later, but over the years, we have watched these videos of individuals saying they need to reduce the population in these countries. So that means the onus is on the government to prove to the people that, listen, this is not a conspiracy theory, because I don't believe there is a government that doesn't love its people, that wants to eliminate its people. So that means there has to be a conversation that now draws the distinction between the conspiracy theories and whatever was said on live television or on live coverage and what we are happening at the moment. So the difference here is that back then, there was no force. Literally, this time it's like there is a force behind the campaign. And some will say the force is because we've seen outbreaks in the different countries that are being vaccinated, Sudan, Togo, and Congo and Uganda, among others. But in this case where there is a mass campaign, definitely there is mistrust because of what we have seen over the years. And you can't blame someone who hasn't got the right information. You can't blame them for not going ahead and getting vaccinated.
Also, just a quick one, though, for the viewer out there. According to Dr. Malande, is that this time round, Ugandans should not be worried about where the vaccines are coming from, because according to him, these particular vaccines were procured by the government from France. And they were actually procured, the yellow fever vaccines, procured from France, not from America or not from the Bill Gates Foundation. And to him, he says that Ugandans should know that these particular vaccines were procured on taxpayers' money. So that means it is the taxes that we are using. But then when you also look at the issue to do with the hypocrisy bit of it, I have only one word to say, is that at times you don't blame anyone from saying no to a vaccine. But then you have to make sure that you're good with the sensitization. Because with the rise of social media uptake in Uganda and the rise of elitism in Uganda, you expect such things to happen every other day. There was also a time when when the government was trying to push for a circumcision, and today the issue to do with safe male circumcision goes back to the individual and goes back to the sensitization. Why is that so? At times, as people grow and get to different countries and get more knowledge about certain things, they are bound to oppose some of these initiatives by the government. That at times you will realize a parent who takes the child on their own or voluntarily for vaccination is the same person who is against the mass vaccination. And then the question would be, why is that so? Yes, the hypocrisy bit of it is there, but then you do realize that even in, most of the doctors have actually put it out there that according to them, with the rise of elitism in Uganda, these are things that have started to come up every other time the government comes up with such initiatives. So it goes back to how are we sensitizing the masses? Because nonetheless, even those who are actually trying to push for political aspirations will still throw in a political card that maybe the government is trying to, to do this and this. So how you sensitize the masses is very key. Because at the end of it all, some will actually accept, others will definitely say no.
All right. Now, on the issue of some schools not allowing their children, not allowing the students or pupils in their reign to be vaccinated, 10 schools in Luwero district are under investigation for blocking health workers from vaccinating learners against yellow fever. The schools are Mama's Child Primary School in Wobulenzi Town, Bugema Seventh Day Adventist Primary and Secondary Schools, Kissa Primary School, Ristack Primary School and secondary schools in Busika Town Council, among others. Now, when it comes to consent, why is it that the Ministry of Health is not seeking consent before they vaccinate these children against, especially during this current yellow fever campaign?
Well, I think it's because it's a mass campaign first. Though I'm not saying it is right for them not to seek for consent from the parents, but because it's a mass vaccination campaign, which is aimed at protecting all of us. And, to the Ugandans, you get to realize that with this vaccination, it is aimed at creating a preventable measure for all of the Ugandans to take up the vaccines. That if at all the yellow fever attacks any one of us at the get-go, how do we survive? Because it's not treatable, but at least it is vaccinatable. And if the vaccines are on the market and are available, then the government is taking the right strides at the end of it all. Now, the consent bit of it, I think it is because of the fact that the government had already released the information that we are going to have mass vaccination coming through. Different media platforms were reporting the same. We, as the national broadcaster, have been doing the same as well. So I think the consent bit is because the government had already pushed out or had already put up the information that, well, we are going to be having the mass vaccination. And why? Because I don't believe Ugandans who are traveling out of the country will definitely ask why they need to get vaccinated. So that's why there is no consent from, that's why the ministry is not seeking for the consent, first of all, from the parents. Though I want to believe it is not right at the end of the day.
It isn't. Well, according to the head of vaccination at the Ministry of Health, he said government is not seeking consent from parents like Sonko. Put it that it is because this is a mass campaign. Uganda is endemic to yellow fever. There is no cure for yellow fever, so the best that can be done is vaccinate. So instead of seeking for consent, the government is giving you the information. This is what you stand to get, or this is what you stand to benefit, or how you're going to be affected in the event that we have a breakout and you're not vaccinated. Now, it's interesting that the reports coming in from Luwero district, as it is said that by Dr. Innocent Nkono, the Luwero district health officer, who said that they have registered cases where parents threatened to beat school head teachers and health workers after finding that their children had been vaccinated without their consent. It goes back to sensitization.
Sensitization, yes.
We have failed to do enough sensitization. And I'll speak for myself. Up until I saw flyers saying that there will be a mass campaign, I'd not seen information regarding the same before that. And I think this is where many Ugandans are coming from. So someone didn't do their job right at some point, and now it is affecting the campaign. Now, Chantal, what would be your parting shots regarding this?
My parting shot would be that let's have information, the right information put out by the government to enable Ugandans be able to distinguish between the right and the wrong information. Social media is doing a lot to cause a lot of confusion. The best or the least that can be done is try to eliminate that kind of confusion. At the end of the day, these programs are put there for a purpose, and it doesn't make sense for you not to achieve the purpose for which you're putting them in place. So definitely, sensitization is very important in this case. And
Jerome Paul, as we run off, what are your last thoughts?
Well, I think I'll go with what Chantal has mentioned. Sensitization, very critical. How you sensitize the masses is important. And on the matters to do with the consent, you do realize that most of the parents will not agree to this. And though it's a little bit chaotic for parents to threaten their teachers with beatings,
to beat them.
I mean, that's not the right way to do things. Yeah. But nonetheless, I think the government needs to continue with the sensitization. Most of these campaigns are for a good cause. And if it's for a good cause, you always have to show everyone why it is for a good cause. Because at the end of the day, some people are just good at opposing everything, whether it's good or not. They will come out and oppose. So it is upon the government, you know, to go against the elites of this country, so that at least for those who can get the information on how important it is to vaccinate should receive it as it should be. And then the government also has to address some of you know, the propaganda rotating around the vaccinations that have been happening within the country. That's all I have to say.
I saw that one of, among some of his tweets, Kableta, he noted some of the effects of the vaccine. Now, I understand that for every drug, every vaccine, there will be some effects. Some will be negative. But this is where the health ministry and the government comes in, and they arrest these. They try to talk about these and inform people so that they understand. Because one person is now making it look like for every person that is going to be vaccinated, there is going to be a negative effect. And we know that not to be true, because we wouldn't be here. All of us were vaccinated and we are here. So government needs to do more. I'll add my voice to my colleagues in terms of sensitization and educating people. These things should not happen just out of the blue. Let people know for months. I remember back in the day when there would be a mass vaccination campaign, there would be ads upon ads for months on end, so that everyone knew and understood the gist of the matter, and there wasn't resistance. So why do we have resistance in the last few years? It means something is missing and we need to go back to the drawing board. You are watching Good Morning Uganda. I'm Olive. We will be right back.
Live from UBC Studios in Kampala, this is Good Morning Uganda.
Pick of the day on UBC. Was brought to you by
MTN Momo Pay is the easy way to pay. Dial *165*3# or use the MTN Momo app. You don't need cash. MTN Momo Pay is safe and free.
Mukoke Fish Farmers Association tuli balunzi ba byananda ebyebika ebisatu. Omuli Miracap, tilapia oba engege ni catfish twete male. Group eno twatandika twali abantu basatu nga tulingirira obwetaavu obwebyenanda obwivwa eno okubona nti tufuna okasente akava mu maadi agali gatambula butambule nga gatubita ku wanu ng'ekirabo. Twatandika ni fish pond ndala mu mwaka gw'E2018. Twebaza fisheries officer ni district ya Bugiri babanga batulagirira kusani fish farm ebwikwe ni side day ndeyo twabanga tusobola okufuna kwetusaako obugege obwasooka era mu mwaka ogwali 2020 awo basobola okubanga batuwaayo ebyenanda emitwalo dali ena okuva mu operation werese creation era okuba ayongerezaako emmere yatuweebwa okuva Uganda Poultry Breeders. Twasobola okuba nga tusoloza akasente akawerera obukayire nga 2. Twasobola okuba nga tuinvestinga oba okubona nti twongerezaako ku bimu ku bintu bye tukola gano. Twebaza gavumenti yaife okuba nga buli saawa efaayo okuba nga efeeri Abannayuganda.
Live from UBC Studios in Kampala, this is Good Morning Uganda.
Cultural tourism in Uganda is one of the less spoken about products that we have in the country, yet it attracts like several discerning tourists that are seeking out for culture experiences, unique culture experiences around the world. So when we talk about Uganda's culture, with the more than 50 tribes that we have in the country, it is really a product that we should be giving a lot more attention, considering the other products that we are giving attention now. And today, being in Toro region, Toro Kingdom, here we are at Empako Village, the one-stop center for all Toro's culture. If you need to know anything about Toro's culture, this is the place. But the highlight for the place is the Empako. Do you know that Empako is just a pet name that is given to the Toro people, but it is also extending to the Banyoro, going to Congo. So it is a pet name, say Amoti, Aboli, Apodi. These are some of the common names. And yes, it is common that most people have pet names. Maybe they meet Batoro friends that give them these pet names, but do you know the rituals behind? Do you know how you're initiated into this pet name, how you get this pet name? So at Empako Village, you get into the real Empako tradition. It is an endangered tradition that is somehow being phasing out due to the modernity that is coming up, the transformation. But here at Empako Village, you get the real experience, the rituals, you go through the rituals, the food, everything that you need so that you get your Empako fully as the Motoro woman or Motoro man that they get it. So let's roll through the place and see what happens here.
Solomon Kajura is my name. Proprietor of Empako Village. At Empako Village, we pride ourselves of culture tourism. You're sitting in a valley called the Gweri Valley, which is traditionally was a hunting ground for the kings. The uniqueness of Empako Village is that we want to build and preserve the Empako tradition in its entirety. So at Empako Village, you'll get an Empako name. You will get to see the cultural artifacts explaining the life of a Mutoro or the life of Empako tradition. You will get to experience the music. You'll get to experience the food. You'll get to experience all other rituals that associate with the Batoro and the people of Empako. But also, the art and the architecture embedded in us brings out the beauty that you see today. So the uniqueness of tourism really, I feel, is the experience and the beauty and the story behind the establishment.
My name is Nelon Gerada Moti, and there are very many people who have Empako outside there, but they don't have it the right way. They did not have rituals performed of getting Empako. Empako, for those who don't know, is these are names of endearment for the Watoro and Banyoro and other tribes around East Africa. There are 12 of them, and most people have them, say Amoti, Akiki. Some people don't have them the way they're supposed to. So right here, you get to learn how the rituals are performed, and you get to get yourself Empako as any person. It's important to know that today, Empako is for everyone, whether you're coming from Uganda, whether you're coming from the rest of Africa, whether you're coming from the US, Europe, Asia, it's for everyone. And this is one of the places where you get to get Empako the right way.
We are preserving an endangered culture of the world. Empako tradition is very endangered because the new generations don't really care about well, they may care, but even the rituals that we did to name Emutoro, Emunyoro, Aboki, Amoti, Apuli, and all the rest is slowly getting eradicated, because we see a lot of visitors who come and say, yeah, but I already have a name. I have a pet name. I'm Aboki, I'm what? I'm like, how did you get the name? And they say, yeah, my friend, I met a friend of mine, and he named me Aboki. But we still have to go about rituals to get the name.
Before you get Mpako, if you are born from here, there is a process they give you go through. One, when a child is born, a boy or a girl, after 4 days, that's when you qualify for a boy to get Mpako. And after 3 days, that's when you qualify to get Mpako for a girl, for those who are born in this kingdom. So after those 3 days or 4 days, depending on the gender, for a boy, they will take you around the house 4 times as people laugh and smile around. And then after that, they'll take you to one of your uncles, and that person will hold the child on their laps. They keep doing it 4 times for the boy. And then they give you Mpako according to how someone feels about you, according to how they look at you. They choose one of the 12 Mpako and give it to you. For a girl, it's 3 times around the house as people laugh and smile. And then they get the auntie of the child, and then they do the same thing 3 times for the girl. Still, they choose Mpako that suits you and give it to you. Once that is done, they prepare a meal of millet or kalo, with obutuzi or mkaro, that meat prepared with mushrooms. And then for the girl, they give her, you eat on it 3 times, the millet. And then for the boy, you eat on it 3 times. The reason for going around the house laughing and doing that stuff is basically to create a cheerful attitude in the child, and making sure the child grows with positive energy.
So many activities happen here at Mpako village. You can go for shipping, but here still you're going to meet not the world's biggest, but we consider it the world's biggest sport house, because when you look at the World Guinness records, the highest sport stands at around 2 meters, but this one, it is like in 12 meters. So we believe that it is the world's largest sport house. So if you want to see such unique things in Uganda, you should consider visiting Mpako village, that is located just about 12 kilometers on Chibale Road and 5 kilometers from the Chigarama post. So just be here. This is a place for you. Explore Uganda.
Welcome to the GMU Business Update. I'm Jerome Paul Sonko. Now, on the 5th of April 2024, the DFCU Bank organized an iftar dinner. This was to give back to the Muslim community, its customers from the community that are fasting during the Ramadan season. And of course, we all know that the Ramadan season is a season of prayer, a season of giving back, a season of pretty much fasting. Now, through the corporate social responsibility, the DFCU Bank invited quite a number of the Muslim business community on a dinner that many did attend and, of course, accepted the invite. And we were on ground to make sure that we bring you the details of the same. And out of everything, the CEO or the managing director of DFCU Bank, Mr. Charles Mudiwa, who is actually a new one in the sport, was sending in his thanksgiving for the Muslim community for banking with DFCU. But not only that, also wishing them a happy Ramadan season, which as we speak is only left with only a few days till we celebrate Eid al-Fitr. Now, on the other hand, Prince Nachibinge also called upon DFCU Bank not only to focus on giving back to a community that already has, but to also extend this corporate social responsibility to various vulnerable groups within the country, people in villages and the underprivileged in Uganda. Let's have a look at what we gathered for you in our business update this morning.
In Lusto, you did not actually take time to feel like there's somebody you have brought a smile on their face by saying, Alhamdulillah, you made me break the fast where I had nothing to eat or drink. And you didn't do that. If you didn't do that, and you remember you probably harmed somebody and someone at the time when you're supposed to do that, please, Allah loves you. He said zakah, and do not be afraid of zakah. Because the Prophet ﷺ says that no man's money or wealth is going to be depleted because of zakah. But instead, it keeps swinging up, and it gets rising up, and you get more and more. The more you pay zakah, or the more you help the others who are needy, is the more you get raised up and the more money you get.
It is a pleasure, as DFCU Logan says, to be here as we join you in breaking the fast. And please accept our appreciation for inviting all of us to come and join you in this tradition when you give back to society. As we all know, fasting is a time of spiritual rejuvenation, time of reflection, time of sacrifice, time of patience. So when we gather here in this good environment, we have time to reflect on the teaching of Islam, but more so, it gives us an opportunity to network and join others in celebrating the holy month of Ramadan. There is a lot in the scriptures which talk about giving back to society, helping one another in breaking the fast. So we seek Allah's indulgence that may He reward you as an institution for this gesture. One thing I want to talk about is that many people we are here tonight. I think we can afford this meal, but still we take pleasure in joining you as we partake what you've offered to us. I want to ask Mr. CEO that there are so many other Ugandans who can't afford such a meal, and that's not your business. But think about these people. Going forward, try to see that half this budget we are spending tonight, it can change people's lives. It can change the society. See how best you can nurture those who have not. In the rural areas, half of this budget can provide clean water. If you put up boreholes, can change society if you helped in putting up school blocks in areas where issues are lacking. But I know you are in business to make money. So how are you going to make ends meet if it's just a charity? All I'm saying that when you give back to society, you are investing for the long haul. When you put up a building, when you put up boreholes, you can always put there your logo. And this young fellow grows up recognizing that DFCU brand. And when he comes of age, certainly he will be back to stand with you. This young man, or young lady for that matter, when you help to roof his classroom, and the iron sheets have your colors, have your logo, when he comes of age, certainly he will always remember that it was DFCU that changed his environment. You can still have this budget, offer scholarships to the bright students in this country but who don't have the means to continue studying. The country is dotted with so many of this kind. I suggest you look through this and try to give back to society in a more meaningful way. We do appreciate all of us who are here, but I want to challenge you that after we've all taken our meals, there will be more than half left behind because you can all afford it. But let's try to see that also the others we can share with them. I want to take this opportunity to congratulate you and the DFCU family for clocking 60 years of age. It's not a small number, more so when we have so many institutions that have suffered from infant mortality. 2 years they are out of reach. We thank you and congratulate you. Over the 60 years you've been around, you've offered services to our people, you've provided employment, you've extended services and facilities to many Ugandans, and you've made this place a better place. We congratulate you and we pray that you continue for the long haul to provide services to our people in this country. Needless to say, over the 60 years, you've contributed to our GDP, you've paid taxes. It's one of those sensitive subjects in Uganda among the business people. But I think you've done wonders, and we look forward to working and associating with the DFCU with pleasure. Ordinarily, when you are asked to speak on such an occasion, more so when people are breaking the iftar, if you take long, they always look at you with squinted eyes, wondering when you are about to retire. But I would have loved to continue because I was not given any particular subject. I would have loved to talk about the challenges of managing financial institutions in this country, because the CEO is new in this country. But what can I say? That 60 years ago, our economy was dominated by a few banks, fully controlled, exchange controls were in place. In the last 40 years or so, or 30, the situation has changed for the better. The environment is fully liberalized, capital accounts are fully liberalized, and everything seems to be on the right path. The challenge is, before then, the CEO would sit behind his desk and people would bring in the money. Today, you have to get off your desk and look for the depositors. It's no longer a bed of roses. In the past, the regulatory framework was not so tight. Of late, the central bank is hands-on. It's putting a lot of demand on the CEOs. Not only the central bank, but even the shareholders are setting targets. They're asking this and that. With all those constraints, that's where the challenge is. But all is not lost. Before, you had to ask somebody to know what is in the vaults. Today, on a touch of a button, you know what's in the vaults, what is coming in, and life seems to be very good. Only that IT has come with its challenges. You know better, because cybercrime is also on the increase. It's some area you have always to look at, but also it can cause you heart failure, because in the night, you know all the withdrawals and the receipts. If you saw one saying that you've been debited by so much on your Nostro accounts, which you didn't authorize, you might miss a heartbeat. But those are the challenges. But we wish you very well and welcome you to Uganda. And thank you for joining the banking fraternity in this country.
Well, iftar was served and the Muslims broke their fast at the Kampala Serena Hotel as the DFCU hosted the business community from the Muslim side of things here for the iftar dinner. With a few days left for Eid al-Fitr celebrations, we would wish all the Muslim community a happy Eid. But besides that, giving back to the community is one of the key things that was noticed here with the dinner, as well as being pushed out as a message to all the Muslim sisters and brothers of the same. This has been the GMU Business Update today. Good morning.
Time for our traffic updates. My name is Olive Monica Najuma. Good morning. Thank you so much for sticking with Good Morning Uganda. Now we are starting off along Mityana Road in the areas of Bulaga, right next to Starbucks in Bulaga, continuing up ahead into Busega and nearby areas. Now, when we look at Bulaga area, there is a bit of traffic jam right from Starbucks as you continue ahead, but the traffic situation in this area is not that intense yet. We have mostly green zones and a few orange zones here and there, a few red zones, indicative of traffic jam, but not intense. At least we do not have a long stretch of traffic jam as of this moment. Continuing still with Mityana Road up until Dabusega roundabout, all I see are green zones in this area, even right before the roundabout. This is unusual because in most cases before and around the roundabout is usually intense traffic jam. Now looking at the Kampala-Entebbe Expressway, it joins Busega. There is a smooth flow of traffic there. And continuing ahead, there is a bit of traffic that I see coming through still from Busega area as you head into Shengera. Well, we will stop here for our traffic updates, and I hope you keep enjoying Good Morning Uganda.
Live from UBC Studios in Kampala, this is Good Morning Uganda.
Pick of the day on UBC. Was brought to you by
MTN Momo Pay is the easy way to pay. Dial *165*3# or use the MTN Momo app. You don't need cash. MTN Momo Pay is safe and free.
UBC is the national public broadcaster. We educate, inform, entertain, and inspire our audiences. You can watch us on free-to-air channel 001, DSTV channel 282, GoTV channel 371, Star Times channel 201, Zuku TV channel 20, and Azam TV channel 350. Even when your subscription expires, you can still watch UBC for free on your pay TV platforms.
Nyati Motion Pictures brings you Tuko Pamoja, a documentary film about our unity as Ugandans and Africans.
Bunyoro would have simply created an East African community that we are looking for today.
The rulers of Bunyoro are actually Luos.
We people who live across the Nile, we are so related from our myth or from just the Nile.
We are the same people, and genetically we are even the same people.
We are similar people.
We are one.
Pamoja, we are one.
Use that word, pamoja.
Premiering every week from 3rd February to June 2024 at the National Theatre and Indere Center. Daily screenings are from 4th February to June 2024 at Ham Cinemax and the National Theatre. To get a ticket, call 0778 787 660. Tuko pamoja?
Mukoke Fish Farmers Association tuli balunzi ba byananda ebyebika ebisatu omuli Miracap, tilapia oba engege ni catfish tetwete male. Group eno twatandika twali abantu basatu nga tulingirira obwetaavu obwebyenanda obw'obwivwa eno okubona nti tufuna okasente akava mu maadi agali gatambula butambule nga gatubita ku wano ng'ekirabo. Twatandika ni fish pond ndala mu mwaka gw'e2018. Twebaza fisheries officer ni district ya Bugiri babanga batulagirira ku Sani Fish Farm ebwikwe inside day ndeyo twabanga tusobola okufuna kwetusaako obugege obwasooka era mu mwaka ogwali 2020 awo basobola okubanga batuwaayo ebyenanda emitwalo $40 okuva mu operation werese creation era okuba ayongereza ku emmere yatuweebwa okuva Uganda poultry breeders. Twasobola okuba nga tusoloza akasente akawerera obukayire nga 42. Twasobola okuba nga tubuinvestinga oba okubona nti twongerezaako ku bimu ku bintu bye tukola gano. Twebaza gavumenti yaife okuba nga buli saawa efaayo okuba nga efe eri Abannayuganda.
A new dawn on Behind the Headlines with me, Timothy Nyangweso. Every Wednesday, live in our studios in the heart of Kampala, we have conversations that have analysis, explanation, but not every truth is fact, and not every fact is truth. Every Wednesday, 10 p.m. on your public broadcaster.
All on your public broadcaster, UBC, inspiring Uganda.
Juko. Yo. Wachikuwa. Check the shopping, man. What's your secret? Uganda, haven't you heard of the parish development model, PDM? Yes, I did, but I thought it was just a talk. No, Sebatia. It is real. I and a few friends together formed a circle, accessed money from the PDM, invested in a poultry project, and now things are moving.
Juko. I thought I was one of your friends.
You are.
But you left me behind.
I didn't leave you in poverty. What you do, just visit your LC2 chairperson and your parish chief and start the process of economic transformation. Just like that. The parish development model is an initiative from the government of Uganda through the Ministry of Local Government designed to transform all lives of Ugandans for the better. PDM, my parish, my development, my life.
The cardinal role of a government is maintaining law and order, safeguarding citizens' rights, and providing essential public goods and services. Throughout its tenure, the government has consistently upheld these principles. This foundation creates an environment conducive to delivering crucial social services to citizens through diverse approaches such as taxation, strategic budgeting, and effective policy implementation. A transformative education system, advancing healthcare provisions, enhancing social welfare, and propelling infrastructure growth, all of which continue to evolve daily to cater to the population's expectations. Supported by a meticulously organized network of ministries, government remains committed to serving its citizens. Coming soon on your public broadcaster, The Front Bench, your interface with the government every Monday at 8:30 p.m. with Joram Paul Sonko, only on your public broadcaster, UBC, inspiring Uganda.
Live from UBC Studios in Kampala, this is Good Morning Uganda.
A lovely morning to you. Thank you so much for being with us on UBC TV. This lovely Monday morning, I must say. Why lovely? It is fairly cold, though in some areas it really rained during the night. So in case you're coming to town, Well, it's no different with the area where you are. So carry yourself a cardigan, something to keep you warm. I've just seen one of my workmates here putting on something I usually see with people in Europe wearing. Or in my primary school, we had someone who used to wear something like that, a fascia, to protect us during the night. So this is where we are, and of course you must be very, very warm. Now, amidst all this, last week, government came up and warned hotels that have not yet been licensed by the Uganda Tourism Board to ensure they do so or face closure. Now, government says standards are something that we should uphold, and more so, tourists should find conditions that they expect to find, not for one to pose as a 5-star hotel, yet you're not a 5-star hotel. One to promise services they offer, yet they are not offering them. Now, this morning, I'm joined by the Treasurer General, a national organization of trade unions, and he is also the General Secretary, Uganda Hotels, Foods, Tourism, Supermarket and Allied Workers Union, Moses Mauku. You're most welcome.
Thank you, brother.
Today I'm having you in the other capacity. Not so much of a Treasurer General, National Organization of Trade Unions, but still under unions as General Secretary, Uganda Hotels, Foods, Tourism and Allied Workers. Now, Moses, first help our viewer understand. When we talk about licensing, when we see Uganda Tourism Board coming in here, but also saying licensed hotels, if they are not licensed, they face closure. What is this licensing all about here? Because I believe if I have my facility, I'm paying my taxes to KCC or whatever authority is there, then I'm done, I'm good to go.
I wish to start by greeting the Ugandans and wishing them a very good week that is beginning today. From the start, I will wish to inform Ugandans that licensing of hotels is a legal requirement under the Uganda Tourism Act 2008. Some hotels are licensed by Uganda Tourism Board, others not. And this is a normal phenomenon in Uganda for people to avoid of dodgy taxation. But they still operate. The crackdown on hotels and tourism facilities for licensing is a good gesture, for it has attributes. In the first instance, it creates more revenue for the country as an economy because they will collect tax through licensing. 2, it improves on the standards for government to understand which hotel operates or which tourism facility operates where and under which circumstances, with which type of services that they are offering our guests that come. The guests do not only come for this particular hotel. The hotels are used as pathways, but the intent of the guest is actually either to go and tour the national parks or other tourism attractions. So they are not merely guests for the hotel. They are guests to Uganda. They are tourists who come to visit Uganda, and whatever they do has an effect to all of us as a nation. The other attribute is that it also tries to create formality or reduce on the level of informality in employment in Uganda. You know, for quite some time, even at international labor organizations, they have and there continue to be programs that are skewed towards reducing informality in employment in all sectors. Tourism, hotels, leisure, and allied subsectors face similar informalities in employment. And when government insists on licensing all these hotels, it adds up on people getting to do what they are supposed to do according to the standards that are set by government. But as we speak today, there are so many hotels, there are so many tourism providers who are actually not licensed, doing things that are not up to standards, calling themselves names and titles that they don't qualify to be called. And we also, the sector appears to be a little bit lucrative. It makes profit. That's what most people assume. From the time of privatization, for your information, most of the hotels that were at the level of hotels with a star, they all belonged to government before privatization, under Uganda hotels. Now, when this privatization came in 1987, during the SAPs by World Bank and IMF, they privatized the hotels, and the hotels were bought. The Uganda government hotels facilities were bought by businessmen, people who had money. But many of them were not professionals. And these businesses have had a lot of problems. For us who tour around the whole country, who visit these hotels, you go to Lira Hotel and you wonder whether it was among the Uganda hotels. Lira Hotel, Masindi Hotel. They were very good facilities under government, but the people who bought these facilities are not professional hotels. And a hotel is a highly professional business, just like a hospital can be. But many people think that everybody can manage a hotel. One time I worked for some rich man around town who had 6 hotels at a go. 6. But he was a trader in a different sector, completely different. But because he had money, he started buying hotels, building some of them, and at one point in time he had 6, a chain of hotels. And I worked for him as the area cost controller. Professionally, I started as an accountant in hotels. I'm not a hotelier, but I've worked with hotels for a long time. So we used to try to give advice, but he never attached any value to training, to professionalism. And we used to tell him, if you don't change the way you approach issues, these businesses will close. He thought we were deceiving. He said, no. But what is in the essence of training somebody? Somebody to cook, I can also cook. And another person picks food and serves the other person who wants to eat. What training do I need? 5 years down the road, all those hotels closed. All the 6. He sold some of them. He abandoned the others because they could not make any business for him. Just because he did not give value to the profession. The business he was doing is a professional business. He wanted to do it as any other business.
Any other business.
So under the circumstances, it is important and necessary that government licenses this and tries to follow up on them, to have checks and balances. But there are also a number of pitfalls. The government agency that is claiming they have given a 14 days notice, they don't have the capacity to do this work in 14 days.
What do you mean? Are the hotels so many?
There are so many. There are so many businesses in the sector that are doing business informally. Too many of them that UTB has no capacity to even handle within the notice that they have issued. They can't. Even now, as we speak now, there are those facilities that I am told they have sought for licensing, and they have not been issued with licenses. Now you want to take on over 1,000 businesses in 14 days. Do they have the staffing to do that? They don't.
What is entailed in getting this license? Because also, when I move around this country,
yes, please,
sometimes I get confused of names given to some businesses.
Yes.
Because this goes to those in the tourism business, but also those in the hotels.
Yes.
You find a motel, you find an inn, you find a guest house, you find a lodge, you find a hotel. Some called hotels
Are
one would
actually
say-
restaurants.
are actually restaurants. Others are inns or motels. So you get confused and you ask yourself, in Uganda, what is what? And you know, what do they depend on to say that for you we can't license you as a hotel? I was looking at the rankings when I was looking for 5-star hotels.
Yes, please.
And I saw, I think, Sheraton Kampala, then
Kampala Serena.
Kampala Serena, I think Chigo, was it or some? There were
Yes.
very few
Yes,
5-star.
please. Yes.
Than what I thought. Even those I thought were 5-star hotels.
Are not.
And when you listen to adverts, so these brochures they give out, they're calling themselves 5-star hotels. So there's so much of a mess to sort out.
You see, we have a bigger problem.
Mm.
We have run hotels in Uganda since 1987. The first time government, Ministry of Tourism, UTB, comes up with grading was about 2018 or 2012. So in Uganda, most of the hotels are not ranked. They are not graded.
Mm.
So you give the hotel the grade you want because government has not done its work. So these proprietors give their hotels or facilities the names and the grades they wish because they are not guided. We do not, the operators don't have adequate information from UTB about what they are meant to be, what they are meant to do. That guidance is also lacking. So even when naming these facilities, you find somebody, what we refer to as lodges are not actually the lodges. Lodges are supposed to exist in national parks. But for us, using our vernacular, we call every place where people go and sleep a lodge. Every place where people go and sleep a hotel. So we need guidance. These operators need guidance from the professionals in government, in the ministry.
Because I'm looking
in
for a
UTB.
tourist who is booking away from Uganda and is well assured they are going to sleep in a 5-star hotel.
And you know, when they get here, what they find on the brochures is actually 4-star. When the person doesn't have a star, when they come into the hotel at the reception, they expect to see the stars. They don't find it, and they begin looking for it and asking, where is the trademark for your ratings? It is not there.
Now help me understand, and of course our viewers, this star issue. You're in this business for a long time. What's its significance?
Star is to rate. It's like ranking.
Okay.
Just like you have ranks
In the army.
in the forces.
Yes.
You have a lance corporal, a sergeant, a captain.
So a star goes with the services,
Exactly.
with the structure and everything.
It's not only services, but very many things are entailed in the process of grading and rating these facilities. So where do you fall? Under which star? There are those qualifications that make you become a 1-star, a 2-star, a 3-star, a 4-star, or 5-star, or 6. But in Africa, I don't know whether we have any 6-star hotel. In Europe and China, there are even 7-star hotels. In a 7-star hotel, a guest can access anything, even an aircraft lands in the hotel. You don't need to travel from the airport. You get the biggest item. Even if you want to buy a car, you can buy it while in the hotel and come out driving. It has each and every facility. Those are 6, 7-star hotels. But you can also find the needle, the cheapest item a human being may require in life. You find them in one stop center, in that one hotel. Whether you want to buy a car, you'll get it there. If you want to buy the least thing of 100 shillings, you will still get it in the same hotel. There are even a supermarket with a variety of things. So it's about what services do you offer, what amenities do you have, what standards are these amenities. So that is how they do the ratings. So the Ministry of Tourism has all these requirements for one business to acquire a certain or given star. But the businesses are not aware about this. Most of the businesses are not aware.
Yeah, people know.
Some of the facilities are not even rateable. They are far below the requirements of these ratings, that they are just supposed to operate and even change name. So we need that guidance from our government, so that people do what they understand, people do what they know. Otherwise, even by virtue of naming, you find somebody calling himself a hotel with 4 rooms. 4 rooms. There is even no restaurant. And it is a hotel. When they want to serve you breakfast, they bring it into your room. And they are calling that a hotel without a restaurant. You get. And you see, the other thing is that hotels are burdened by so many taxes, about 10 different taxes. If you have a hotel. So some of these people who can afford to avoid, they avoid some of these licenses. We are talking about a law which was passed in Parliament in 2008. They are implementing this now, after about 18 years. Where have they been? So these are all questions. I want to say that the notice given is quite unrealistic. They cannot achieve what they want within 14 days. Because Uganda looks small on the map, it is quite big when you travel. Quite big.
Moses, you've said that time is really too short for them to achieve this. But also let's look at the implication of this. Because they may crack down still on some hotels. Believe you me. So what are the likely implications if this sees the light of day to people in the sector?
Well, implementation of law is required, is a requirement. The repercussions for me from the perspective of a workers' representative, one, is that this sector was one of the most hit sectors by COVID-19, where we lost over 6,000 jobs. Over 6,000 jobs. And the implementation of this directive will go a long way in again affecting the few jobs that we still have. Because if they mean to close down, they're actually going to close down very many of them. Very many of them can get closed under the circumstances. And when they close these hotels, the workers are going to be affected because they won't have jobs. Two, these people have been used to what they assume to be profit when it was just the taxes avoided. These people doing these businesses that are unlicensed, they have been getting money in the name of profit in their books of accounts when actually it is tax that have been avoided. The repercussion will be that upon closure, when they reopen, they are going to reduce workers' salaries. Definitely. Because for them, they want to maintain their profit margin. When they have been committing an offense under Section 13 and 14 of that Act, the repercussion will be we can now no longer to manage all the workers, so we reduce the number of workers, we reduce salary. That is what happens always, and it is very wrong. They need to only mobilize resources, get their businesses licensed, and continue without necessarily affecting the emoluments of their workers. But that is always the first thing an employer will think about.
Cut workers.
Cut workers in numbers and also reduce salary. And given the levels of unemployment, people have no option. They accept to this unfair treatment.
Actually, someone feels blessed that he has not been just from work.
So let me continue.
Let me continue.
And under the circumstances, you see, bad manners arise. Somebody becomes a target worker. What can I pick from here? That is sometimes what employers forget. When you over squeeze an employee, you make this employee a target employee who is also on the lookout of what can I take from this place, since they are cheating us. And they are the same employers who do not comply with the other legal frameworks, like the Labor Unions Act, the Employment Act on many sections. They do not collectively bargain. They don't involve these workers in decision-making processes. So the workers are not happy, and they end up also doing or becoming indisciplined in one way or the other to make ends meet.
Now, when we look at the Uganda Tourism Board and this law, it was meant to ensure that we have quality, we have quantity, and also we lift our standards to meet international standards. That when a tourist lives in Nairobi and comes to Kampala and was in a 4-star, if they're coming to Kampala, they still find the same services of a 4-star. With this ban or this closure of these hotels, if it happens, do you think this is positive towards the tourism sector, away from just people there working, or is it a negative move at such a time?
I would say it is a positive move. Positive in many senses. One is that there is this problem of unfair competition. You know, what we have not known, some of the people that operate professionally go for certain costs to remain a professional business. Those who are doing it unprofessionally, they get money in the name of profits when it is actually not profits. So they unfairly compete with those that are professional.
This one's room a night is $200. The other one tells you $50.
Exactly. So those imbalances arise because some people pay certain taxes, others don't. Some people have obligations which are not met by the other fellow competitors. So they create unfair competition, which is not a good thing in business. We have this problem of the live-ins and apartments. Those are, by the way, most of the culprits, are the live-ins and the apartments. Live-ins here are these houses that are personal. In the beginning, they are personal houses. There are so many in Europe, for example. When people retire in Europe, they divide their rooms, their houses. He lives in one room like a guest, and then the others become business rooms. And it's not a hotel, it's a live-in. The owner of that house lives within and is selling part of his house for business. You find very old people serving you breakfast in the morning. And in the evening, they are there conversing with you because they have no children. They are just left two in the house. So this has also come in Uganda. People build their houses and either continue living in there with the guests, very many places. And such places are not licensed because they are homes.
It's so common now around Entebbe.
Very many.
Entebbe, there are so many.
Even in Kampala. It is his home. So even URA will find it difficult to go and disturb somebody in his home. But he's having guests there who come every day because they do the booking online. So people come looking for this.
The tourist
location.
is in Uganda for months.
Yes.
Everything
so they
is
deprive
there.
business which would have been meant for a hotel that is fully licensed. And for them, they are not paying this tax. But they are taking these guests at relatively cheaper prices for accommodation, but with very good facilities in there. So we have that problem of live-ins. Then many people have constructed their houses that they turn into apartments and begin advertising them. You find one rich man has about 10 apartments. And it is meant for these people who come, either long stay guests or 1 day or 2, 3 days, like they would have been in a hotel. So all these businesses, I mean, these unlicensed businesses.
Someone says, no, if you're coming to Uganda for 2 weeks, there's this apartment, everything is there. So you either pay per day or
for the period.
For the period you're going to be there.
So they need to be licensed to create fair business competition in the sector. Otherwise, it is a burden to the licensed businesses. So that is looking for equality in business sense. And we pray that they do it, though not in the notice period that they have, they have mentioned, which is not affordable. But we encourage that they go ahead to continue to ensure that every business gets licensed so that we have a fair competition in business.
The others are saying this may pull them out of business or hike costs. One hotelian was telling me that, Robert, for example, today a person can get a room even when they travel to the tourist city in Fort Portal, that at 30,000 someone can get a room. We have been pushing for domestic tourism. Now when you talk about the licensed hotels, those are hotels of high class. Those are hotels for tourists. Now
Not
this
really.
move is going to hinder domestic tourism, that rooms are going to hike, you know, services are going to hike. And then we shall leave this campaign of promoting domestic tourism, go to the drain as we again go back to where we solely depended on foreign tourists.
In the face of competition today, licensing does not mean that you are going to hike prices.
To recover what you're giving
No, they don't do it that way. I'm telling you, most times, these effects get into the pocket of the employee. They will reduce the employee costs by either reducing number of workers so that the few that remain work long hours. It's not about increasing pay for your room, because you are doing this business in the wake of very stiff competition all around you. So if you have been selling your room at 50,000 shillings and you think by paying a license you will now double which guests will come to this facility. So the problem is still lying with the employee, and we want to strongly encourage or advise employers not all the time think that the employee is going to be the shock absorber for every financial shock within the company. It compromises the quality of service, because the person doing or rendering this service while she is unhappy is not the best thing for a business. So they just need to know that paying for these taxes or licensing a business is improving the business standard. Even UTB to some extent does marketing for these businesses. So if you are in the books of UTB, the other person who does not know you may get to know you through UTB. As a person who pays license.
Yes,
you were even seeing in their circular they have indicated the PPD, what is this procedure of procurement in government. If you don't have a license, you will be deprived of business but with government. Government will not procure services with your hotel or with your tour facility because you are not licensed. So licensing is also to open you up for more business with even government agencies. So it's a good thing both for government and the operators of the business.
I know there's a businessman watching there and wondering that if Moses is being realistic when they are going to start paying a tax that they have not been paying through licensing, and is telling them it is healthy for you and your business.
It is true. One fact is, it is a matter of law.
That is true.
And I'm one person that believes that being compliant is the best thing. So if you have not been licensed, you are not compliant with the requirements of that law, the Uganda Tourism Act 2008. So it is only important and necessary that you become compliant by getting licensed. But there are benefits that come with this license. Just like the Income Tax Act requires us, as people doing business, to pay for VAT, register for VAT and other taxes. Still, if you are not VAT registered, you will not take business from certain agencies. So why don't you think it becomes a positive on your business? It is.
Now, a quick one. Let's go to the workers here. You come from the Uganda hotels, foods, tourism, supermarkets, and allied workers. COVID-19, we saw a struggle.
A big one.
In the hotel sector.
Yes, please.
Now, with this, you've said we have so many hotels that are not licensed. We have so many people in the tourism business that are not licensed by the Uganda Tourism Board. And if this sees the light of day, banning and ensuring there is enforcement, they don't carry out business, the workers are going to suffer. As a union now, how do you move in where we know that some of these areas, even having labor unions is a taboo, have gone to certain hotels, and you talk about, you see how people are paid per day. You see how some of these waitresses, someone works from 6 up to 6 in the morning, and at the end of the day, they're given 10,000. They have nothing. It is free entry, almost hire and chase at your own. All these, and you ask, where's a union? And they'll tell you, should our director hear of such? That marks the end of you.
You see, one of the reasons that makes some of us come to UBC and share with our fellow Ugandans is to give them information, raise their awareness about their rights. I may not have the capacity to reach each and every hotel in Uganda at the same time, though it remains our mandate and obligation to do such. It is important that we use such platforms to inform workers. The saying these days is, "Bebe them." Why should they wait for Mauku to look for them when they know they have problems? They should look for the union. The union is located just here in Wakaliga, Rubaga. And we always go to these places where the workers have come. We have this problem, we have this problem. But sometimes, you know, workers in Uganda, like any other, they do not understand their rights. They think their rights. Section 3, 4, and 5 of the Labour Unions Act makes it a requirement for the workers to join the unions of their choice. Section 24(1)(d) of the same act, the Labour Unions Act, makes it mandatory for employers to recognize unions for purposes of collective bargaining. So it is also incumbent upon the workers to look out for their union and demand for their rights. But when they continue sleeping, I don't know the addresses of all hotels. So we come here and make it clear to these workers that look for Uganda hotels, food, tourism, supermarkets, and allied workers. Look for National Organization of Trade Unions if you have issues that are disturbing you at a workplace, and we see how best we can help ourselves using the legal framework that is available. Otherwise, I've been telling you that once these people get any economic shocks within their businesses, the first variable they think about is workers. You come late for 30 minutes, they cut a holiday. Is saving money to pay for the bills of water which has increased. Because for him, he has fixed his profit at a certain margin. So if it is staggering, then he comes and checks out on how do I cheat a worker to maintain my profit margin. Because a worker is an easy variable to manage. When you don't come, you are sick, they cut for a week, salary for a week, but you have not worked for only one day. And hiding behind this high level of unemployment. Do you think this worker is going to be happy? The one you have deducted salary for 1 week? Don't you think in the night he can also open all the taps in the rooms that are free? And he also makes you lose water because you will have to pay. And you pay a very high water bill because you cheated him or her. You know, even when you are a very strong, strict employer, you cannot do it alone. You need this worker.
Well, Moses, time is out, but your final remark regarding the topic of the day.
What I can say finally on the issue of cracking down on the hotel and tourism facilities that are not licensed, first is to encourage these facilities to get licensed. Number two is to advise Uganda Tourism Board to go slow. Because this law was enacted 2008. Up to now, many of these organizations have not been licensed. So the notice they have given is very unrealistic and they should adjust. They should also provide information, adequate information to their intending customers. Very many businesses do not even know the existence of that law. I must tell you, in the same law, in that same law, that act, there is a tourism levy. And they have never talked about it up to now, 18 years down the road. All these facilities, hotels, tour companies are supposed to pay a tourism levy in that law. It has never been talked about. They are waking up on this one. Maybe somebody has some interest, as you know, how things happen here. There could even be corruption tendencies behind it. There is a tourism levy, which is meant for training. They are not training anybody. They only now want to collect money, which is not a good practice. They would have even talked about these two sections of the law at the same time. Once you want to license, also encourage people to pay the tourism levy, which is purposed for training employers and employees on how to better services within the sector. So I want to encourage the agents, the government agents, the UTB, to do its mandate properly without bias and adequately. Give adequate information to the service providers, give them enough time to prepare so that they can do the licensing, they can do their work, and the tourism also does its mandate with these employers and tourism providers.
Well, I want to thank you so much, Moses Mauku, who is the Treasurer General, National Organization of Trade Unions, but also the General Secretary of Uganda Hotels, Foods, Tourism, Supermarket, and Allied Workers Union. Go slow on the move, but at the end of the day benefits you people in the business, according to my guest this morning. Well, Ruben is here to give us more updates regarding sports, and of course for us, the Arsenal fans, well, it was all a lovely weekend for us because the Elephants is still at the top of the table. Return shortly in the next hour. Good morning.